I'm aware that I've come to Washington at a sensitive time in the life of this great city. For apart from the daily repercussions of having to deal with the consequences of Russia's 18-month-old aggression against the sovereign nation of Ukraine, the city has now to cope also this week with the effects of Hamas's violent invasion of Israel, with all its repercussions for peace in the Middle East. The invasion of Israel. The whole idea.
Good morning, and good morning to your cherished listeners and viewers, and good morning to my brother. He is now with the butterfly fraternity and most importantly, the good people of Tamale Central. So now I think it would be appropriate we put the whole discussion of Palestine and Israel into a context. Okay. And when I say put it in context, is to look at the historical antecedents and the establishment of Israel as a state. Okay. I have seen that there have been some deliberate attempt by certain individuals to create the impression as if the conflict or the continuous or unabated conflict between Israel and Palestine has to do with religion. Of course, there could be religious nuances, and either side, either Palestinians or Israel, they sometimes take advantage of the religious aspects of their belief because they know that religious issues are profoundly emotive. And like Karl Marx said, that religion is the opium of the masses. If you want to move people and you try every means and you are not, once you use religion, people, when it comes to religion, few people think straight. So that is one aspect. Again, some also to some extent want to introduce race into it as one of the factors influencing this. Either way, you cannot discount the influence of religion on one hand, the influence of race on another, and of course the geopolitical interests of the powers that be on issues of Palestine and Israel. But it must be stated clearly that several centuries, Jews, Christians, and Muslims live in Palestine peacefully without any problem. Several centuries. And in fact, several hundreds of years ago, that particular place, you had inhabitants of people who believed in all these religions. And as a Muslim, when the Holy Prophet was persecuted by his own people in Mecca, the first place he sought refuge, even though he himself didn't go, his people, because he was from a family that was hugely influential at that time. So there was a cover, a protection for the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet, the father died before he was born. The mother died when he was 6 years, and actually they were moving from Medina to Mecca. If you know the distance, it's further than Accra to Kumasi. They were moving when the mother died on the way. And the one who took care of the Holy Prophet was a slave girl called Ayman. She was a black girl. So she took care of the Holy Prophet. After she lost both father and mother, it was Ayman who proceeded to Mecca with that absolute infant child. And Ayman was a black girl. And if you look at certain authentic hadiths, and hadiths are the sayings of the Holy Prophet, he described Ayman as his second mother because it was the woman who took care of her. Now, when Muslims were persecuted in Mecca, and the Holy Prophet felt that the people were being persecuted, they were boycotted, they had nothing, they were killing, beating people who didn't even have cover, he advised that they should leave. And when they left, you know where they went to? They went to Abyssinia, present-day Ethiopia. And the leader there was a Christian, a Catholic, Yajashi. And he was the first person who took them, provided cover and protection for them. So it is believed that one of the earliest mosques to be built was built in Abyssinia. And if you want to look at the first mosque to be built in Africa, was built in Ethiopia or Eritrea. So they had protection. When the Holy Prophet went to Medina, after he was boycotted. His people, he had to move from Mecca to Medina. He went there and met Jews and met Christians. And his first statement was that everybody should practice his religion in peace without any disturbances. As a matter of fact, the first prophethood, when it came to Prophet Muhammad, when he was in a mountain called Mount Hira, when Angel Jibril appeared before him and said, read, and he said, I am not lettered. How do I read? He said, read in the name of thy Lord, the Lord who created man and who teaches man what he knew. There's a surah called Surah Al-Iqra. When Prophet Muhammad was scared and rushed home, his wife Khadija gave Prophet Muhammad some consolation and said, look, your Lord, you are a very honest, very sincere person, blah, blah. Took Muhammad to the uncle who was a Christian monk called Waraka bin Nawfal. So it was Waraka bin Nawfal who said, you have been predicted to be the prophet of God. And this was a Christian monk. So there is so much coexistence between Muslims and Christians. And if you take the Quran, Islam says that you can marry from the people of the book. And when you say people of the book, you are referring to Jews and Christians. Even when they cook, you can eat. That's what Islam says. So there's always cohabitant between these three religions. And let me state here, because I have listened to a lot of ignorant statements that are made on social media, and unfortunately sometimes radio stations, but those who are supposed to be pastors. There is so much commonalities between Islam and Judaism than Judaism and Christianity. So much. If you take the Quran, there is a whole chapter called Surah Al-Maryam. I did Bible knowledge in Legon for 2 years. If you read the Bible, they talked about Maryam. The Bible hasn't said about who was Maryam's family father, but the Quran, it is stated clearly, Surah Al-Maryam. The name Muhammad is mentioned in the Quran only 5 times. Of course, there are statements that are attributed to him, but that name Muhammad is mentioned only 5 times. The name Isa, which is Jesus, is mentioned in the Quran 25 times. One of the articles of faith, for you to call yourself a Muslim, you must believe in all prophets. That is where Muslims and Christians differ. Muslims believe that Prophet Jesus was a prophet. We don't believe in the Trinity. But it is incumbent on every Muslim to believe in Jesus, but not as God or Son of God, but to believe in him as one of the prophets of God, just like Prophet Muhammad as one of the prophets of God. So it is a condition. If you refuse to recognize this, then you cannot be a Muslim. So there's so much commonalities between this. Now, so that is why I find it extremely ridiculous that I listen to people who think that they must support Israel blindly without even appreciating the fundamentals of the religions that they believe in. The third oldest church in the world has been bombed in Palestine. There are more Christians among Palestinians than there are among Jews. Nobody is against Jews. People who are anti-Israel are not anti-Jews. Judaism is a religion. Zionism is not. And in fact, the idea of Zionism started by a man who was even an European, Theodor Herzl. And that was in 1896, when he felt that he needed to establish a Jewish state. When Adolf Hitler barbarously killed 6 million Jews, that's the account, the first people who gave Jews comfort and accommodation were the people of Palestine. As a matter of fact, when they were persecuted in Poland, in Germany, and they scattered across the globe, there were Jews already in Morocco, in Algeria, because they are cousins. Jews and Arabs are cousins. They all trace their root to one grandfather, from Jacob to Abraham. And it has to do with the birth of Ishmael and Isaac. They trace their root to one grandfather. So they see each other as cousins, and they have been living together in Palestine for several years. So when I hear people, when you criticize Israel, they either describe you as anti-Semite, which is absolutely misleading. It's just like someone criticizing this incompetent president and government we have, and he says, oh, you are against Ghana. Ridiculous. I can be against the system that rules Ghana, but it doesn't mean that I'm against the people of Ghana. Yesterday, I watched several clips. Of course, the mainstream media won't have this on social media. Jews in New York, in Chicago, in Illinois, in Los Angeles, stage demonstration and saying that this killing is done in our name. We are not part and parcel of this. We have nothing to do with what is happening. Now, these are Jews. You find people in Ghana who want to be more godly than the Pope without even appreciating the historical context. Now, this gentleman called Cȯntrȯversial, when he came out with this idea of establishing a Zionist state, the first place they proposed to settle was in Uganda. It was not even in Palestine. The first place they proposed that they would establish the Zionist state was in Uganda. You know why? The reason, they felt that there were no people in Uganda. You can easily read this on the internet. So if Palestine is so dear their land, why did they propose that they wanted to be in Uganda? And in any case, now, after the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, that ruled not just the Arab world and almost half of the world for centuries, Britain came in and took over Palestine. The Palestinians, as a matter of fact, the first Jews, when they were persecuted, killed, maimed by Adolf Hitler, and those who believe in the Nazi ideology of barbarously eliminating Jews, the Palestinians had an open door policy for them to come in and issue them with Palestinian passport. I have copies of even some of the passports on my phone. Issue them with passports. They came, they settled without any difficulty because already they are all Kazans. Now in 1900, that was when they started moving, exodusing to Palestine. They did that on several occasions. Israel was created in 1948. 1948. Before Israel was created, there was already Palestine. In 1948, that's what they call the first Nakba. In 1948, 750 Palestinians were driven away from their homelands. 750,000, sorry. 60% of that number went to Gaza. So you are a refugee in your own country. Some went to Egypt. Apart from that, 1.7 million people, Palestinians, live in 8 refugee camps within Palestine. 1.8 million people live in refugee camps within Palestine. Now, as we sit today, Israel is asking those in northern Gaza to move to southern Gaza. When southern Gaza will be bombed anyway. But let me also state, I condemned in no uncertain terms the incursion of Hamas into Israel and the killing of innocent people. Condemned it. It was a terrorist act which must be stated in that language. But however, what occasioned that? Last 6 months, 560 Palestinian children were killed. The world was absolutely in a state of incommunicado. Now, if the issue is that Hamas lives only in Gaza. There are Palestinians who live in eastern Jerusalem. There are Palestinians who lived in Ramallah. There are Palestinians who lived in other places within Israel. Hamas lived only in Gaza. So the question then is, if Hamas is the problem, why do you kill other people in other parts of Israel? And in fact, within Israel, where even the Palestinians are settled after their land was stolen and taken away from them, there are Jews settlements around them side that they can expand. You cannot marry a Jew. You can't do that. And in fact, it is not only Palestinians. They are not doing it against Islam. They are doing it against Palestinians. So even Christian Palestinians are bearing the same brand of torture, discrimination, like Muslim Palestinians. So it has nothing to do with religion. And the attempt to associate a religion to this, for me, is the most ignorant position that has been taken by people who ought to know. And that is why I want to put it in context. Now, what is our interest in all this issue of Palestine and Israel? Israel is an occupied state. Israel engage in apartheid. That is who they are. That is what they do. As a matter of fact, AU has taken a position in support, in solidarity with Palestine, because we have been victims before as Africa. We have been colonized against our will before. And that is why AU has taken a position. Now you have our president, absolutely ignorant. Either he is ignorant about the history and the historical antecedents and the relationship we have with these people, which has something to do with our own experiences, not just as Ghanaians, but Africans, or he's simply dancing to the tune of his paymasters. And I can understand the desperation that has informed this position. Now, you remember the president when he met Blinken? And he said, I think almost a year ago, when he poked his nose into this Wagner thing, how do you do that with a country that you share boundaries with? Now he went there and said, Ghana support Israel. We don't. You do. What is wrong if the president decided not to comment and get himself engaged in it? Particularly when you have a continental body which has taken a position. So what I want us to look at in this context is that yes, there was an incursion, and you see the mainstream media, several lies were told that 40 babies were beheaded. And the lady who said it, she said, oh, she has seen that 40 babies were beheaded. Only under 24 hours for her to go and write on her Twitter that she didn't see it, she was informed. As a matter of fact, Los Angeles Times, they publish it. A lot of them have retracted the story because that was not true. Again, they said women were raped. And all those things were done to galvanize the emotions of people in America and the Western world to support what they have done or what they are doing today. As we talk to you, it was not, in fact, the last time I checked before I left home, 1,900 people were killed. Now, there have been these killings. The European Union is quiet. And van der Leyen, or what do they call her, the Ursula von der Leyen, the EU commissioner, some few months ago, he addressed the EU Parliament. You know what she said? She said that targeting civilian infrastructure, killing innocent people, and blockading people, preventing them from getting water and energy was a genocide, a crime against humanity, finito. It is exactly what Israel is doing today. Exactly what Israel is doing today. And it is also significant for us to state. Now, apart from what they do, the first press conferences that were held, the Israeli defense minister said that the Palestinians were human animals and that they would block them from getting water, from electricity, from what's the name, from power and everything. Everything that they have done is against moral standards, it's against any religious teaching. And the sad aspect of it is that they don't discriminate between an Arab Muslim and an Arab Christian. They all bear their brand. And that is why the international community must speak out. And the reason why they can't speak out now, in fact, 31 senators from the Democratic Party have actually written to President Biden to walk the talk. When Blinken went to Israel and had a press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu, you know what he said? I come here, one, not just as a Secretary of State, but as a Jew. Why? Israel, in fact, Gaza Strip is just like a strip. It's about 25 miles long and 5 miles width, wide. So Israel police Gaza Strip like you can police in fact, they look, it's like a prison. They know what is happening there. They describe Gaza as an open prison. It has been revealed now by CNN and other media houses. The Egyptian intelligence actually informed Israel 2 days before the incursion of Hamas. This is what they are planning to do. Why didn't they act? Yesterday, I was listening to CNN that the American government and Biden was actually informed 2 days before this incursion. So the question then is, was it deliberate that Netanyahu would allow that to happen because he was struggling politically? There were demonstrations in Israel every single day against him because there was a deliberate attack on the independence of the judiciary and virtually manipulated it. So my suspicion is that he knew about it. He refused to act because of political leverage, but he made a mistake. He thought it was just going to be the usual and the previous incursions. They come in, attack military posts and leave, then he takes it as an opportunity to unleash terror on them. Unfortunately, they went beyond anybody comprehended would have happened. So let me conclude by saying that everybody, and I condemn it in certain terms, the killing of innocent people, the incursion to kill people who had nothing to do with the Israeli relationship with Palestine. There were people who were celebrating in whatever festivals. I condemn that. But there can't be any justification of annihilating people, destroying infrastructure, killing people because of what happened. 1 million have been killed already. And I think that we must call a spade a spade. This is genocide. And there have been genocidal statements that have been made publicly. The arms they are using are arms that were contributed by America, Britain. The current Prime Minister of Britain is a descendant of India. India was colonized, killed, murdered, robbed for several years by the same people you are leading today. So if there is any group of persons who should have experiences or at least information as how they were treated by these same people, they won't do this. And to be very honest with you, one of the reasons why the West will never allow democracy in the Middle East is because they know that when the system is allowed to democratize freely, adult suffrage, people have the right to determine who leads them. They will not have puppet leaders who would dance to the tune. And that is why they will come to Africa and talk to us about democracy. Yet when they go to the Middle East, they talk about oil. And I think that we must all condemn this. It is completely unacceptable. It is genocidal. And let's call a spade a spade. You don't have one treatment for one group of persons and another. I'll conclude with a statement made by Zelensky. You remember on this program, when Russia started the invasion of Ukraine, I said on this program that yes, that was an invasion in 21st century, it was unacceptable. But I reminded your viewing public, and some people took serious offense to that, that in the invasion of Iraq, based on pact of lies, Ukraine contributed 5,000 troops in the invasion of Iraq. Women, mothers were killed. Today, the very thing Ukraine is fighting against Russia, that Russia is invading their land, Russia is an occupying state, is the same thing Palestinians are fighting. Yet Zelensky will make a statement declaring his support for the genocidal actions that have been taken by Benjamin Netanyahu in Palestine. The double standard is just outstandingly ridiculous. And the earlier we speak about this, the better. And please, this has nothing to do with religion. This has nothing to do with race. It has to do with an occupying racial apartheid state. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because Addo will make this statement, and I know my brother will not be happy. The Buzia Dankwa tradition. Buzia voted in support of apartheid South Africa. Buzia supported the killing, the maiming, the robbery, the rape, the torture of black South Africans at the United Nations. That was what Buzia did, and he did that in our name. So are you surprised President Addo is declaring support for a genocidal regime in our name? Buzia did that. That is historically a fact. The same people, the same Buzia Dankwa tradition. In fact, Buzia led a team to Britain, met the Queen and said they were not interested in any independence, that it was a group of charlatans. And let me state, if Ghana never had independence in 1957, and we're going to be persecuted, dehumanized, as our brothers in South Africa experienced, I am telling you, Ghana would have taken arms just like Palestinians. South Africa took arms because when all hopes were lost, when the international community was no longer interested in ensuring that justice prevailed in South Africa, Mandela and his team took arms. So when you see people taking arms, when all hopes are lost, and that's what people do, there is only one reason why. Israel is asking the Gaza people to move from northern Gaza to southern Ghana. They want to annex that territory too.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Comrade. Comrade Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed is Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, starting the conversation on the new developments in the Israel-Palestine conflict. Now, this is the AU statement. And I'm going to read the AU statement, and then Dion Gilbert and Tijani, I will draw the attention. They'll play the video of the president, what the president actually said. This is the communique of the chairperson of the AU regarding the Israeli-Palestinian war. And it says the chairperson of the Commission of the African Union, Musa Faki Mahamat, expresses his utmost concern at the outbreak of the current Israeli-Palestinian hostilities, causing grave consequences for the lives of Israeli and Palestinian civilians in particular, and for peace in the region in general. The chairperson wishes to recall that denial of the fundamental rights of the Palestinian people, particularly that of an independent and sovereign state, is the main cause of the permanent Israeli-Palestinian tension. The chairperson urgently appeals to both parties to put an end to military hostilities and to return without conditions to the negotiating table to implement the principles of two states side by side to safeguard the interests of the Palestinian people and the Israeli people. The chairperson further calls on the international community and the major world powers in particular to assume their responsibilities to impose peace and guarantee the rights of the two people. Now, that's the position of the African Union as espoused by the chairperson of the Commission of the African Union. Hilbert and TJ, please. This is our president's position.
I'm aware that I've come to Washington at a sensitive time in the life of this great city. For apart from the daily repercussions of having to deal with the consequences of Russia's 18-month-old aggression against the sovereign nation of Ukraine, the city has now to cope also this week with the effects of Hamas's violent invasion of Israel, with all its repercussions for peace in the Middle East. Invasion of Israel.
The whole idea. That's Dr. Cȯntrȯversial. We also have our WhatsApp line, so please do share your thoughts on the discussion we are having. And if you, in fact, we have a link on Facebook. You can follow to watch us live on YouTube. Like I said, we're having difficulty streaming on Facebook, but there's a link on Facebook. You can just follow and watch us live on YouTube. In fact, the link is on the Pan-African television page on Facebook and also on Radio Gold 905 FM page that you can just follow and watch us live on YouTube. And of course, this is Hudu Osman in Sukra, who says, good morning. Murtala has more Islamic knowledge than Baumia. I'm impressed by him. His issues, Dr. Baumia. Well, so
Sheikh Murtala. Good morning, Stella. Good morning to Murtala, and a fantastic morning to our Movement for Change members who are watching across the length and breadth of this country and the world. Comrade Murtala has done justice to the historical antecedent between these two nations, Israel and Palestine, and so I would rather focus on some of the thorny issues that the world is turning a blind eye to. You see, we are in a hypocritical world, a hypocritical era, and we are in a stage of disinformation. What thrives now more is misinformation and disinformation. So it is what you serve the public. That is what they take. And the kind of propaganda videos that are going around, sometimes I watch some of the videos and you want to triple check, because you cannot imagine that this is happening in our world. Let me first of all condemn what Hamas did. Is one of the things that should never have happened. You cannot sacrifice human blood to perpetuate your activism. That is wrong. That was wrong. And it played into the hands of the Israelis, who were looking for an opportunity to also strike back. And you see, the issue in the Middle East, or the Palestine-Israeli issue, is more political. I don't see it as religious. It is political to the political leadership in Israel as well as the US. And so that if the US and for that matter Israelis see it as an opportunity to perpetuate their stay, then happenings like what has just been witnessed placed into their hands. You see, ever since I started growing, I started watching CNN in the 90s. In fact, in the 90s, at a point, the only name that I knew was Yasser Arafat. You would hardly tune on your TV without seeing Yasser Arafat.
His wife was a Christian.
Yeah. And Ishaq Rabin. These two occupied our TVs. So they signed Oslo Accord somewhere in 1993, recognizing that there was a need for two states to live peaceably. I mean, this issue we are talking about is all about occupation. One feels the lands belongs to me, and indeed UN itself identifies that when you go to a place like Golan Heights, it's for Syrians. There is no doubt about that. You go to the West Bank, especially East Jerusalem, it's for Palestinians. These are documented. But the question you ask yourself is, why is it that the UN that has not been able to enforce or cause Israel to respect the various accords that have been signed? It was somewhere in 1995 that this religious element was introduced into this whole equation. You remember, Yasser Rabin suffered assassination by an Israeli or a Jew, because that Jew felt the kind of concessions that he was giving to the Palestinians was not in the interest of Israel. And so he killed him when they had gotten so far with the Oslo Accord. And that was when Netanyahu took advantage to come to power, because he had promised that when he comes, he will reverse most of the things that were done by Mr. Rabin and to restore the nationhood of Israel. So he got the opportunity. He came and he realized that it was not as easy as he thought. And so also suffered a political setback to Ehud Barak. He also came, promised that within 12 to 15 months, he would just settle all the differences between Palestine and Israel. The fundamental issue remains that you cannot settle when there is land matter involved. Are you going to settle by saying that Israel or Jews must move out, or Palestinians must continue to suffer loss of more lands? It's very difficult. And for me, that is where I agree with the position that has been taken by the EU, that the principle of two nations living side by side is the only surest way that we can have peace. Now, Jews or Israelites have settled there, you have Palestinians there. You cannot go and say that they should all move out. But let's live, coexist in peace. And by so doing, peace will reign. But you see, the superpowers will not allow that. Look, as we are speaking, bombs are flying. You think who is making money out of that? Is it the US that is going to make money out of that? Because they are not going to give it to you free of charge. Oil prices, as we speak, are about to rise. And it will inure to whose benefit? So the economics of war that we always downplay will be at play. Those innocent children that are being killed, what is their crime in this whole thing? Are they part of Hamas, or are they part of the decision making of those that matters? It is a needless war. It is a needless shedding of blood, and we must not entertain, especially in Africa, that we have suffered, like Mutala was saying, this kind of fate, colonialism, that has not seen to the development of our continent. We cannot be part of it. That's why I'm very surprised that when you read the AU statement carefully, the commissioner was saying it was endorsed by the 55 countries. Is that not the case? Ghana is part of the 55 countries. So how can our position back home then be different from the position of the AU? Because Ghana is supposed to be a subset our view.
have a rep actually, one of the founding fathers.
You understand? So when I heard the president, I was taken aback that. So do we, as Ghanaians, do we take the position of AU or take the position of Ghana? And if we take the position of Ghana, how is it going to help us? Or is it the case that, some time past, you went and voted against Israel? In one of those, I don't know about last 2 years or 3 years, that the Israeli ambassador even had a cause of issuing a statement that he thought it was a mistake.
No, it was a UN.
The
UN Security Council.
Security Council.
And they were expecting that we should not have voted in support
exactly
of that decision, which we did.
We did. Yeah. So is it a case that we are afraid this time the Jews or the Israeli government will come against us or come at us? We must be man enough and behave as a sovereign country. Take decisions. After all, we are supposed to be a non-aligned country. Take decisions that will inure to the benefit of Ghanaians so that we can move forward. I do not want to go into it that much because really what is going to happen at the end of the day, they are bent on killing a lot of innocent souls. You understand? The same principles that Ukrainians established, that some of us believe that what Russians were doing in Ukraine and continue to do is illegal, is against international law. If you are someone that supported that, you have no business supporting what Israel is doing now. Because it's the same occupation of people's land. And we must be principled. If A is not good, A must not be good at all times. Not that A, because A favors Mr. B, and so we change our position. When you do that, it does not make you a credible person. And that is where I will draw the curtains down.
And I just want to paint, and I have the video. I was just telling you, just recently, I think it was CNN. I'll send the video to you. The government we have in Israel now is a right-wing political party. Okay. We have had other political parties and who unleashed some same terror on Palestine, but it is not at this level. Members of parliament actually moved a motion or a bill in parliament seeking to ban Christianity in Israel, the mention of the name Jesus in Israel. I have the video, and anybody can Google it.
But is it
seeking to do that? I'm coming.
Yeah.
Why I'm saying this because, and I want to reiterate same point. It has nothing to do with religion, but admittedly, each of them, either the Palestinians or the Jews, at any point in time when it suits them,
they want to use it.
They want to use religion as a basis. But you find people who have absolutely nothing to do with it. Drive on the streets of Accra, you find people having Israeli flags in their cars, not even Ghanaian flag. Okay. Because what the Bible says, completely forgotten. Those we have in Israel today,
I don't know.
They are European Jews.
Yeah.
What happens to Jews in Ethiopia? Why is it that some of them were not allowed to come to Israel? And those who are there, why is it that some of them are persecuted? Okay. So I think that we need to look at this but the list said about the statement made by the president, the better. My shocker is that this is a man who had once been a minister for foreign affairs, who should have some little understanding. And I say this because I have a master's in international relations. And I had the privileged opportunity to be taught diplomatic practice by Ambassador D.K. Osei, outstanding person. Everybody knows he's a known NPP person. What he used to tell us in diplomatic class is that what diplomats do, particularly leaders of states, even when you feel strongly about a position, and you know that that position could be very divisive, remain quiet. Okay. The least the president would have done on the issue of Ukraine is Russia was to be quiet. The issue of Palestine, Israel was to be quiet. Taking into consideration the position taken by the AU, and I believe that that position was sanctioned, because the reason why this is so difficult, a statement made by a president anywhere in the world becomes a foreign policy position of the states. So that statement, whether we sit here and get angry and talk about it, the international community sees it as the foreign policy of Ghana, something that doesn't reflect the feelings and the wishes of many Ghanaians. Yet our reckless and irresponsible president sees Oyibo man, and because he needs some loans from them, he succumbed to the whims and caprices. And I believe that at the shocker of even the Americans he was addressing, that is reckless, that is very irresponsible, unfortunately, coming from a president of a state, someone who had once been a minister for foreign affairs. The least said about such reckless statement coming from a president, the better.
Thank you. A few messages. Let's go through. Message from our WhatsApp number. This one is from Togbe Azano from Lashibi. I think he really addresses this to Mr. Solomon. So please ask Mr. Solomon if I vote for Alan, will they give me the Minister of Chieftaincy? So that is the. That's all. Togbe Azano.
Togbe Azano, I'll take your number and send the movement form to you for you to fill. We are building a nation. If you deserve to be a Minister for Chieftaincy, why not? We want to build a government of national unity. Okay. So he is well sorted. Okay.
Amashi Dixon says, good morning. This story between Israel and Palestine has two sides, because what we were told as Christians too is different. Of course, we were made to understand that now Gaza was then Golgotha, where Jesus was crucified. So the land belongs to Israel, but they only gave it to the Palestinians temporarily. But the killing of the innocent people, I'm not sure God himself will forgive them.
Sana, I'm sorry, I'm coming now.
They cannot solve this.
The person is a Christian. Yeah. Jews are not Christians. As a matter of fact, Jews refuse to recognize Jesus Christ as the Messiah. One of the bone of contentions why they hate Christianity so much is because they refuse to accept Jesus Christ as the Messiah. And by the same Christian theology, persecuted him, did everything. As today, they still refuse to recognize Jesus Christ as the Messiah. Okay. So the argument
that the NPP have gotten another excuse to justify their crash, incompetence and corruption. Very soon they will say the economy is bad because of Israel and Palestine fight. Maso Keke sent that from Tongo. Thank you for that message. This one says, okay, if freedom is not given by the oppressor, it shall, okay. This one says, okay, the same thing. It shall forcibly be demanded by the oppressed. Francis sent that from Takoradi. I'm highly disappointed with our president, who we know is a human rights activist and lawyer. His position to this barbaric war is sad, inhumane, and indictment to our integrity. Power corrupts. Good morning to you too, Francis, who sent that from Takoradi. This one says, okay, I am appalled with the president's comment on Palestine. The Israeli government officials are Zionists, not Jews, who don't believe in Jesus Christ. Kuku Senda from La Paz. This one says, good morning, please. My name is Bruce from Navrongo. Please tell Honorable Member of Parliament for Tamale Central that okay. I will draw his attention. This is personal. This Al Bashir says, on diplomacy, the Holy Prophet Union Masters. So to sit and watch another power trying to colonize a particular group of people is unfair. As for President Akufo-Addo, he has always been a betrayal first to Ghana and AU as second. Let me tell Ghanaians that had it not been Kwame Nkrumah left Akufo-Addo's father and his allies, Ghana would have still been under colonialism from day one. From day one, they have never supported freedom. So is it hereditary? They have never cared making money while the people are being oppressed. While Nkrumah and the CPP were out with full force to free Ghana, Nanado's father and his allies were massaging it. James Mano is joining us from Kumasi. Says Akufo-Addo is supporting Israel because that's why he buys his stones for his God. So there are several messages being sent. Thank you very much for sending in those messages on our very first discussion that has to do with the latest development on Palestine and Israeli conflict. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the discussion. We're still waiting for Dr. Percy and Ambassador Sampiale to join us. When they join us, we'll take their thoughts on the very first discussion. But let me do a few more messages. This is Seidu Kpebu, who says, at UCC, the library director had to help me apologize to a Jewish lady for referring to her as a Christian. She was livid, absolutely mad. There's a bill currently pending in the Israeli parliament seeking to criminalize Christianity. Anyone who preaches about Jesus Christ is liable to a 1-year imprisonment. That's coming from a positive change in Medina. Says change of government with the ballot paper by the ballot in 2024 is inevitable. The hardship on us is louder today than ever. 2024 elections is not only about NDC. It's a collective responsibility to liberate ourselves from corruption, TV mismanagement, dictatorship, incompetence, economic hardships, and tyranny. That's coming from positive change in Medina. A few more messages. from us, from those of you watching us. This one says, "Good morning, Senator. Our super incompetent and substandard family and friends president should be ashamed of himself. Senator, this map I sent you was issued by National Geographic in 1947, 1 year before the Nakba. There was no such thing called Israel. Long live Palestine." That's coming from Hadi in Pig Farm, who sent that. This one says, "A school teacher was stabbed in France and 10 more people were arrested, according to France security. And it has been established that the attackers are in solidarity with Palestine against Israel." That is from him. This Prince Henry Koforido says, "Good morning." Okay, he is talking about something else. Thank you very much, Prince Henry, for sending in that message. So those are some of the other messages that I had not gone through. This Tafai Namayas, and I condemn Hamas killing of innocent civilians because not all Jews support what Israeli's government is doing. But now Israel is doing what exactly Nazis did to them, to Palestinians. That's Tafa in Amahia who sends this. Okay, I'll read this a bit later on from Elliot Ogbe. Well, so we have to move on to the
11 members of the Bin Laden family, when even they grounded all aeroplanes, were flown out of America.
See?
11 members. In fact, one of them was taken from Texas. They had to take the person to Washington for the person. 11 members of the Bin Laden.
Well, this one is from Emmanuel, who says, "Nanado should learn from the old saying, Diufiasem. Who called him into this? What have you said about the devastating effects the spillage of the dam has caused your own people in your country?" He is here to comment on that. This is Ma Hassana Zubeiru from Accra. Just comment Mutala. Okay. "I lost you on Facebook on good lectures. I'm very proud of you." There's Kansung. Okay, so this is Joe Nakpandori. Says, "Unfortunately, the war between Israel and Hamas is not about Christians. The Christian population in Israel is just about 1.9%. And there are Arabs in Israel too. However, war is not the solution. Hamas itself is guilty of same crime when it ruled Egypt until Sisi took over." So those are some of the messages you're sending to us on through our WhatsApp platform.
Now, because I missed the earlier conversation about our Palestine. Okay. The Zionist project is in full flow.
And I hope you can do that within 5 minutes for me.
Yes, the Zionist project, which is a collective colonial project of Europe and America in the Middle East, which means that any Jew from anywhere in the world has instant citizenship and right of residence. Now, I don't know whether you're aware of this. Hamas started out as an Israeli creation, in much the same way that Al-Qaeda started out as a US and ISIS started out as US creations. They are useful for providing pretexts. In the same playbook that is being rolled out in our part of the world, where you have this jihadist, this thing. What do? They create these groups. If they don't create them, they get close and take charge of them, so that they provide a pretext for them to invade, on the basis that they are coming to help you to put out the fire. It's a classic trick that has been used with great success, in quotes, all over the world. So why? You hear people saying that this thing took the Israeli intelligence by surprise. Take them by surprise. Hamas were training in the open. What they needed was I'm talking about the Israelis and the European and American powers. What they needed, and the Zionists in Israel, what they needed was a 911 moment. So all the initial stories about people being beheaded, and all of that was part of the package. To get hold of people's emotions, provide a justification for going all out. So it's just going to be a continuation of the process of eviction and expansion of the Zionist project. Now they're putting pressure on Egypt to open Sinai, so those in Gaza can go to the desert. That is a project. Okay, but like any colonial project, like any racist apartheid project, it will be fought, it will be resisted. And people may see this as a setback, but I can see a greater globalization of the struggle against Zionism and the racist colonial settlement that is Israel. One final point, but that has to do with a point that was made by, was it you? Or was it made by Murtala? About a grenade that was supposed to have been planted in a bouquet of flowers.
Yes, someone sent me a message on it.
Yes, it has entered our history books. It was never planted. It was thrown. You can't plant a grenade. You know how a grenade works. You take out the detonator, the pin, and within a matter of seconds, it goes off.
It was thrown at the time when the child had sent
It was thrown when the child and the people, there was an entourage. Nkrumah was coming in from Upper Volta.
Yeah.
The Upper Regional CPP decided to do an impromptu presentation to the leader. It was completely impromptu. So he has stopped Akungugu. So there was an entourage, a reception party, right? With a girl carrying the bouquet plus the other official. So when they got close,
They threw the...
yes, and the person who threw it is a leading member of your party.
No, I disagree.
He's a member.
I'm not a part, but
You are no longer in that party,
but
so why defend it?
that part of that historical provision
Yes,
is challenged.
he's telling my who.
You and I, you were told that.
Hold on.
He said he challenged
Hold on. One further detail. I hope they have the original recording. Mr. Kwesi Pratt interviewed a gentleman who worked in the Army Ordnance Office. Okay, and I've been interested in this because some grenades got missing. Okay, the person who was involved, I've gotten to know later, is a distant relation of mine. Okay, he used subterfuge to remove some grenades from the system. They turned up in the Kulungugu and other bomb throwings. There was a full inquiry done by the army. They established what had happened. But this story was allowed to run as part of the business of knocking heads in the CPP. The same operation that led to the arrest and prosecution of Akwaje and Kofi Crab and Tari Adamapio. It was a job done by our friends in the UP to deepen the internal cracks in the CPP, present that there was infighting.
They said it was thrown by, so to throw a grenade meant you were very close, and that leading member of that UP went closer there and threw that grenade. That cannot be.
No, he was standing.
How can that be possible?
You throw a grenade.
That the leading member of the UP tradition.
I'm saying that he's now a leading member of your former
and
party.
And people saw him throwing that grenade.
Well, he was arrested.
Doc, whether Jonah swallowed the fish or the fish swallowed Jonah, does he swallow?
But this story can never be believed by myself.
You have
I'm saying that there's a program.
Bombs were thrown. It's a fact.
So that's what it's about.
But as to who did it, who masterminded it?
Who are you people?
CPP's own inquiries later found out that they were from within.
No.
They were from within.
Which inquiries?
Oh.
Which inquiries? Who led that inquiry? What are you talking about?
But
every inquiry established it was masterminded by the likes of Akwaji and those people.
It is only your inquiry that
what are you talking about?
It's only your inquiry that establishes that.
So this is a message from Camilo Saxizi, who says, Senna, this is okay. On the Google bomb attempt on Nkrumah's life, his personal cameraman, Dr. Chris Hersey, in 2007, came out to clear the air that the bomb was never planted in the bouquet of flowers the little girl carried. According to him, the bomb was thrown from somewhere else, which unfortunately fell on the bouquet of flowers which killed the innocent girl. Dr. Hersey made a correction on March 6, 2007 on Ghana 50 celebration. Was on a GTV live program. Let me do a few more messages. This one says, please read this message. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll try and see if I can draw his attention. We can still find your message. This one says, Sana, I'm 50 years, and for me, I have no hope as a citizen of Ghana anymore, either in the leadership today or future, and doing anything possible to sell my house so I can get my wife and children out of here. Why? Because I have even rented my house in the city out and gone to the village with my family, and so the bad governance of this administration has followed me to the village. Today, Today I can't sleep and always thinking. He calls himself a worried man from Akosombo. Thank you for that message. There's this one who says, Sana, please ask okay, he's not an NPP guest. He's not an NPP guest. He's from the Movement for Change. Solomon Owusu, who has now declared support for Alan Chamantin, that the majority leader of State Chairman Sabonso in an interview said they are working on bringing back Alan to the party. Now, ask Solomon what he thinks about that and what will be his next decision when his boss is lured again to the new patriotic party. Will he follow him back to the NPP, or that will be the end of his career? Henry swearing in some time ago, the continental body is against what Israel is doing, and you represent this small country and spew this from your mouth because of your selfish deed. God save our land. Thank you. I think it's commenting on the president saying that we are fully behind Israel. Alex Agbo from Karachi says, and a good morning to you and your panel. I'm happy all NPP aspirants, including Solomon, are now admitting that the economy is bad. It's surprising to know that these were the same people who, before the bid to lead this country, clearly and consistently defended everything, including evils this government committed and continue to commit. Comes December 7, 2024, all these guys will dance to the tunes of their own music. Abu sent this from Takrady. It says, and there's a showdown walk here in Takrady, but the amount of intimidation is too much. So there's a lot happening. PDC sent this from Pokwase. What do this incompetent, useless government led by Addo want? Let's rise up and impeach him before it's too late. He's just wasting our time. Thanks. PDC sent that from Pokwase. And this one says, Dr. Percy hit the nail right on the head. You can see their violent nature being exhibited. Very, very intolerant people. Even under military rule, we did not see some of these wrongs taking place today. Akufo-Addo is like the Westerner. He's opposed today. People who care less about lives when their interest is concerned, hypocrites, are they not? Kipo send that from Savannah region. Yes, this one says, in fact, few weeks after President Mills' twist of tongue, candidate Akufo-Addo delivering a speech before NPP youth as secondary also repeatedly said, say the quadruple when he meant quadruple. And no NDC made a noise about it, knowing that it was a genuine slip of tongue. So those are some messages you're sending to us. This one says, our president's problem is he is less knowledgeable for the presidency and should just resign. This one also says, please don't forget, okay, he gave the book, I think you said, is it Meredith?
Martin Meredith, The State of Africa. The other one is
Martin
End
Meredith.
of the Illusion.
End of the Illusion.
P.S. Fisher.
Okay.
That's an old book. I don't know whether you
can find it on the market.
But I have.
You have a copy.
I have a copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one says the country Ghana has a very, very long way to go. A country that has no national direction, policy, and agenda. Kojo Nyasepe Teshi sent that one. I'm trying to read as many of these messages as I can. Okay. So Babs from Obuasi says, my grandfather, Majite, told me the bomb was from someone, not from the bouquet. The bomb was thrown by someone, not from the bouquet. There's why should okay, I think this one has released something else. Thank you very much for the messages you're sending into the show. No matter what talk shows, Alaji and Alaji.
If you get that book, you should just go to the Ghana section. It's about many countries in Africa.
Okay.
Just go to the Gold Coast
And focus on the Ghana session.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is Pan-African Television. We're also live on Radio Gold, of course. Well, Dr. Percy has joined us in studio. Doc, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Shana. My profound apologies for holding you up. I think we're talking about for the invasion of the studios of UTV, okay. But coming from the NPP, it's not particularly surprising. It's a bit surreal to listen to Mr. Solomon, who's now out of the NPP, talking about the NPP. Politics is about power. It involves struggle. It involves passion, commitment, etc., etc. So violence will always be a shadow of the activity. Some people will even try to turn it into the main business. Now, if we are talking about the Ghanaian space, going back to the Gold Coast, I'm talking about violence and violent traditions, then no party comes anywhere close to the forebears of the NPP, the NLM. They declared Kumasi a no-go area for the Prime Minister and the Governor. You know that. They declared Kumasi a no-go area. And it was their turn to violence and terror has cost this country a lot, and in many ways explains some of the account for the difficulties that we have in forging national cohesion. The NLM was opposed to Nkrumah's Ghana project. And what was the Ghana project? Now, you find yourself in a situation where you have at least 50 ethnicities in this space that we call Ghana. By the way, you had the colony, the original colony, that started as a response to Asante power and encroachment on the coast. Started as a defensive pact between some Fanti chiefs and the British. against Asante, Apa, and encroachment. That colony will expand, eventually to cover all our coast and go into the hinterland. You had Asante that came in to the Gold Coast through war and conquest. You had the Northern Territories that came in through treaty. They made a decision as well to go with the British or go with the French. And those who we find in Ghana decide to go with the British. Then you have the Transvolta Togoland, which was part of German Togoland that was split after the First World War. So you have these four component parts, like I'm saying, with about 55 at least ethnicities. Some of them fully fledged centralized states, others in various stages of state formation. So if you are going to talk properly about nationality, you're going to have something like 50 nations in this small space. So Nkrumah's Ghana project was a very simple project of creating one nation out of these diverse things. Of course, there are other interests at stake. Because we never had that conversation leading to independence, there are many things that are unresolved today. Now, the NLM was simply an Asante formation to push Asante national interests. And what were those interests? At a certain point in time, Asante was the biggest power in this space that we call Ghana, with this power extending even beyond present-day Ghana, east and west. And most others were either subject peoples or vassals who supplied slaves, which was the basis of Asante's rise to power. So, Asante, a nation that had come to prominence through control of the slave trade, seeking to extend its power over this space. You had the European powers on the coast who bought the slaves, who were involved in the trade, and they traded in other stuff. But you also had a small problem of middlemen, like the Fantis and the Gas and this thing. And in business, in trade, you go around the middleman, you remove him. So this was development that was taking place on the coast before the British would assert their power. So for Asante nationalism, it was a restoration of the previous situation where they were the dominant power. For them, independence meant the British giving back what was theirs. And many years later, in '92, I'm sure you would remember the slogan, "Yeah, GMI." Who proclaims slogans as official?
Which slogan is that?
Yeah, GMI. We are taking back our land.
Oba Esla even said it in the 2016 elections.
You are referring to Ashanti position as this.
No, it was said.
It was said, but for him to say it was an official slogan or something.
No, he didn't say that.
No, it's not an official slogan, but slogan, but
Don't misquote.
No, I have no problem with the young man. Go on. So, all I'm saying is that for Santiman was a very simple thing about restoration of a previous position of dominance. If the British say they're going, give us back our country. That also meant for some other entities going back to being vassals or being slave peoples. That's what it meant. If Ashanti gets back its original listing, it also meant that some other people will become slave peoples. Some other people will become vassals. You understand? But I'm saying that this business required negotiation. So there were two processes of negotiation that were required. Internally, among the ethnic entities that form Ghana, and externally with the British colonial power. That negotiation, that conversation, that discussion internally was never allowed to take place. It was disrupted at every turn by the NLM. They used terrorist violence and boycotts to ensure that that conversation never took place. They were opposed to the Ghana project. And the Ghana project was being built on the back of a policy of a detribalized youth. That was at the heart of Nkrumah's and the CPP's policy. And the NLM was formed on the basis of, will I call it a fatwa? It was a declaration. It became treason for any Ashanti youth to become part of the CPP. For the CPP youth, the most militant, trenchant part of the CPP youth were Ashanti youth. Like the Aram Ponsers, Joa Pierce, Kobaduse, Betrậys, all of them became, it was a simple declaration by Santiman. You are Ashanti youth, you cannot become part of the CPP. And that's how the NLM was really formed, became a very militant power. Of course, later it would take over the space that was occupied by the other ethnic parties, etc., etc. And it's very interesting to observe what is going on in the NPP today. Because it's just a continuation of an old historical process that goes way back. No, you smile. Because today you hear people saying in the NPP that, oh, it is the turn of this guy and this guy and this guy, of this set of people. But well, the original meeting that founded the United Party, the NLM was not a foundation member of the NPP. It appeared as an observer. It was very interested. So the founder of the NLM appeared as an observer in Bukum Square at the original meeting that founded the United Party. But the principal members of the United Party are parties that you don't hear about today, like the Muslim Association Party, the Northern People's Party, the Ganshifimokwe, the Anglo Youth Togoland Congress. They were the constituent elements that formed the United Party. but the NLM will take over the United Party and push all these elements to the fringes. There was a break in '69 when the Shifimo elements broke away. Ababa said they broke away from this thing, and you had Lake Atokwashi. So these are things that are happening, but because one, the NPP has spent a lot of time and invested a lot of energy into falsifying our history. Many youth and many even elders in the party do not know the history of that party. Like I said, this is still an evolving story. But back to IAMS. Now, in 2016, when did you elect Nana Addo as flag bearer?
The first time was 2007.
Yes, those elements in his character were muted a bit. But in the run-up to the 2016 election, they were on full display. The Ghanaian people really elected a hooligan and a thug. He used thuggery to take over the party. And what you saw manifested in UTV is just an extension of that thuggery. No more, no less. And for the thugs who are on the forefront of things in the party to see the Peace FM and UTV, which is the Peace FM project, move away from a reliable platform for the party now to an instrument that is used to attack and denigrate the party was a bit too much. But it was hooliganism, it was thuggery, it was illegal. I hear that some people have been arrested. Have they?
They were initially, they were bailed, yeah.
They arrested them.
Yeah, I think that'll be the end of the story. Nothing will happen to them. Because, right now, when President Nana Addo took over the power to thuggery, he was embarked on a very clever project, which is what? To control or to build up or to constitute a non-Asante core, stroke majority in the new patriotic party, but to harness that to reliable Asante votes. That is the project that has gone off track. One symptom of that is the voluntary ejection of Alan Chemating and Mr. Samuel Owusu.
Solomon.
Sorry, Mr. Solomon Owusu, sorry, I apologize.
Voluntary ejection.
Yeah, how will I put it? Were you for? No. So that project is now in deep crisis. Because everything that has happened just points to one simple end result. The presidential flag bearership will be purchased or bought or stolen for Dr. Bawumia. Everything will be done to steal the 2024 election, and he would sit on the president's lap and do as he is told. But in the same way that the NLM took over the UP, another group is going to take over the NPP. That is the plan. So whether it will work, I have great doubts. And all the things I hear tell me that, well, there will be people who go in because they have to survive. Because right now it is clear that if you turn against this project, all the forces that come in marshal will be marshaled against you. If you are interested in going to parliament, you'll be denied. If you hold an appointment, it will be taken away. So I can see many people joining the gravy train, at the very least, so that they don't get any wahala, and they can get some money. Part of the billions that the governor printed, part of that has been stashed for that purpose. I'm sure that part of that is no doubt what was found in some people's bedrooms. They're saying that they did not even know how much was there and had no idea that people were taken out of it until they found someone in the space. So it is not one person. That project does not involve one person or one appointee. But it's part of the so-called, I hear 30% of that 80 billions that did not enter official channels. So this thing is fully budgeted and paid for, the flag bearership of Dr. Bawumia. But then I suspect that as my friend, I'm not sure I should call him a friend now, he may object to it. Mr. Boachi Ajaku, yes, okay. He makes a point that there will be people who will be in, but who will not really be in. Yes, because they dare not show dissent. So there will be people standing around you, but they will quietly peel away. And then what will happen is that, oh, is the Northerner who cost us the election. But those are other matters we can talk about. But as for the events at listen, they simply reflect the character of the NPP today. Intolerant, and they fully expect that platforms like UTV that they believe they created, not that they believe that they created it, or at least co-opted it. Okay, because I hear initially Peace FM started with the promotion of some elements in the NDC, but they eventually co-opted it, and it is now fully their platform. So they are entitled to feel that it should reflect what makes them happy and comfortable. But then it's difficult to say anything good about this regime today. And as for our president, he has fully checked out. There's only one thing that's left for him to do. This is to ensure the election of Dr. Bawumia, who will quietly sit on his lap and be told and directed as to what to do. But they have laid the foundations for taking over this space called Ghana. He's always believed that it was a family inheritance, and to all intents and purposes, he has achieved that. At least he believes he has.